Thanks, Destiny. Welcome to Thinking with the Languages of Drawing, Place, and Neuroaesthetics. Please make sure to mute yourselves. Please make sure to grab a pencil or marker and paper. It can be notebook paper for the drawing exercises we will engage in at 6:30. As a social constructivist educator who believes that knowledge is constructed in relationship with each other, materials, and the environment, along the way we will share social constructs or definitions of key terms like languages of drawing and neuroaesthetics so that we can have a shared meaning. For now, I want to clarify that the idea of thinking with, which is italicized here in our title, rather than about, is intentionally used to highlight our desire to come alongside the subjects of our research, drawing and place, in a relational way which is aligned with indigenous and feminist principles rather than objectify or distance ourselves from our subjects of inquiry. So our title is Thinking with rather than thinking about the languages of drawing and place. We want to take a moment to acknowledge this historic moment and the rights of children as global citizens, especially children displaced by war in Ukraine, Syria, and Palestine, and we join the global call for peace. I have labeled the slides in the upper right or left-hand corner using the conventional sections of a research paper. I will now offer you an abstract or brief explanation of what areas our beginning research we will cover tonight. First, we'll make introductions and share a land acknowledgement. Then we'll make clear our purpose statement. We'll share our co-inquiry into thinking with the languages of drawing, place, and neuroaesthetics. We'll make visible our conceptual framework, which is the 100 languages as a metaphor. We'll share a literature review of neuroaesthetics, describe our research method. Then Professor Nakagawa Boli will give an artist talk. And at 6:30, we'll invite you to as many mini drawing lessons as time allows. These provocations will be a future method for our data collection. And then we'll close with discussing implications for future research. We welcome the confluence or coming together of Fresno State students who are joining us this evening, specifically teacher credential students in my Lee 169 research class on inquiry puzzles of practice, and Jamie's Art 102 students taking her class on ideas of visual culture, art, media, and the computer. This presentation has been shared widely, so we hope more folks have come and offer a big welcome to everyone who has taken time out of your busy schedule to join us for this hour. We also want to pause to thank the IRA grant for funding this event and the Fresno State South Valley campus in Visalia for allowing Professor Nakagawa Boli to present from one of their studio spaces tonight. We also like to give a big thanks to Destiny Lee for co-hosting this event and taking care of the chat, muting folks, and holding the digital space for us presenters. Thank you, Destiny. If you haven't met me before, my name is Michelle Dominguez. My pronouns are she, they, and this is my first year as an assistant professor of early childhood education at Fresno State. I describe myself as a mixed race Chicana. I am a non-binary woman of Mexican descent. I know that might sound strange, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Born in the US with a politicized identity. My mixed heritage includes my Mexican, German, British, and Irish ancestors. My research specialization is bridging ecology, culture, and learning in decolonizing early childhood education. I consider myself to be an artist, and my medium is writing and creative reuse. I would like to become more fluent in the languages of clay, drawing, and painting. Now land artist Professor Nakagawa Boli will briefly introduce herself.
My name is Jamie Nakagawa Boli, and I'm assistant professor in the art design and art history department. This is Art 102. It's a visual culture class where students, 94% of the students are not art majors, but they're in this class and they experience, just like you, a semester for us, a semester of art. I too am an artist like your professor. I have a background of 10 years teaching and coordinating art education for a nonprofit here in Visalia, 5 years teaching children from ages 12 to 18, and also 5 years at Fresno State as an adjunct. I am Native American, Indian, Japanese, and European. My area of focus is drawing and painting, and I enjoy my students quite a bit, actually. I'm so happy to be here tonight with you. My work is about the land, and I am looking forward to sharing it with you. And I just want to welcome you right now. You want to welcome them, guys? Welcome. It's a great space we're existing in.
Hello. So Jamie and I met during a new faculty orientation last summer, and we gravitated to each other almost immediately. A conversation that began with connecting over our mixed Indigenous heritage turned into weeks and months of ongoing discussions about parenthood, teaching, land, identities, creativity, and navigating institutions of higher education, among other things. Our ongoing collaboration has become an interdisciplinary friendship between an artist and a preschool teacher-educator. One of our deepest connections has been a shared identity as mixed race and how that informs our research. In one of our early conversations, I shared about a poem called The 100 Languages. Jamie will read it for you tonight, because it leaves a deep impression on her, as well as inspires our interdisciplinary research on thinking with the languages of drawing in place as neuroaesthetics. Being mixed race tends to develop a bridging consciousness as you navigate between worlds. This event intends to build bridges across Kremen College of Education and Human Development and the Art Design and Art History Department, and to bring together our art and Masters of Early Childhood Education multiple subject students as co-participants in crisscrossing between early childhood education and art education. Before we go much further, I will share a land acknowledgement. The second half of this acknowledgement was created by children from an Australian preschool and has been adapted to our context in the Central Valley. This early childhood land acknowledgement involves movement. Please join me if you are able. You will be first prompted to raise your hand up to the sky, then to place your hand on the ground in front of you, and finally to place your hand over your heart. Now I will begin. The Fresno State campus sits in the midst of the San Joaquin Valley, a valley rich in the traditions and representation of Native American peoples and cultures. We are grateful to be in the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples, whose diverse tribal communities share stewardship over this land. We raise our hand to the sky that covers Mono and Yokuts' ancestral land. Raise your hand up to the sky. We place our hand on the ground in the care of Mono and Yokuts' ancestral land. Place your hands on the ground. We place our hands on our heart in the love of the Mono and Yokuts' ancestral land. Place your hand over your heart. Indigenous land acknowledgement is an effort to recognize the Indigenous past, present, and future of a particular location and to understand our place within that relationship. Next, we can take concrete action steps for supporting Indigenous people. Here are some local Native organizations in Fresno that you can donate to, volunteer with, and participate in. Feel free to take a screenshot or photo of any of the slides we share. Oops, sorry. Cuxu Maiz is an intertribal organization that has been established in Central California, dedicated to serving Indigenous peoples of all groups. And on May 25th, there'll be a fundraiser, an Indigenous Market Night. I'll be performing in the drum circle, the whistleblowers. So hopefully you can come participate. Fresno American Indian Health Project is located a few blocks from Fresno State and has a clubhouse youth program, which is an after-school program that offers tutoring, summer and winter camps. They have a community garden and medicine wheel support groups, among other offerings. Fresno State Native American Initiative is a program at Fresno State that supports our Native students. Here is an illustration Jamie created that will be on the outer cover of the Native American graduation program this spring. And our final introduction is to the word moyolikatsin, a concept I learned from my Nahua teacher. In this image, you see an alphabetical spelling of the word accompanied by an image from a pre-Hispanic Mexica Aztec codex of a hand holding a heart. The Mexica and their neighbors in and around the Valley of Mexico relied on painted books and records to document many aspects of their lives. The native tradition of pictorial documentation and expression continued strongly in the Valley of Mexico several generations after the invasion of Europeans. Aztec codices were usually made from long sheets of fig bark paper, amate, or stretched deerskins sewn together to form long and narrow strips. Others were painted on big cloths. Most of the information in these manuscripts was transmitted by images rather than by writing. I belong to Calmeca Tlalocan, or a Mexican school of higher education, and Maestra Chikwe Coa always begins pláticas or learning discussions by saying Moyoli Katzin in Nahua, which is a Yuto Aztecan dialect. Moyoli Katzin means, may your venerable heart make itself present. We invite you to listen with your hearts as well as your minds tonight, since we are speaking of identities, culture, ecology, and learning. Mexican cosmovision holds that everything human and more than human has a language, and everything communicates. Keep this principle in mind as we think with the languages of drawing and place. Now we move to our purpose statement. Our main purpose in this inquiry is to center the 100 languages of children as a metaphor for children's rights to express their complex identities and theories in a multitude of ways. In particular, we seek to engage the languages of drawing in our co-research with linguistically, culturally, and neurodiverse children and adult learners. Children are naturally divergent or creative thinkers. However, Professor Nakagawa Boli and I have both observed our adult students describe themselves many times as being not creative. Somewhere along the line, creativity gets disrupted, as Jamie puts it. We believe that formal schooling, with its emphasis on convergent thinking and mindsets that socialize us to look for the correct answer, have something to do with this loss of creativity, reinforced by standardized testing and prescribed curriculums. How might we as educators restore divergent mindsets that create plural spaces for possibilities and creative problem solving? How might exposing children to a wide array of art and beauty by integrating it into our curriculum heal nervous systems and restore and protect the divergent genius we are all born with? At the center of our work is a child filled with potential, intelligences, and the remarkable capacity to make meaning of life. Now Jamie will read us a poem.
So this is called The 100 Languages of Children. It's by Loris Malagusi.
You got it.
Cool. So, no way. The 100 is there. The child is made of 100. The child has 100 languages, 100 hands, 100 thoughts, 100 ways of thinking, of playing, of speaking, 100, always 100, always listening, ways of listening, of marveling, of loving, 100 joys for singing and understanding, 100 worlds to discover, 100 worlds to invent, 100 worlds to dream. The child has 100 languages and 100 more, but they steal 99, the school and the culture, separate the head from the body. They tell the child to think without hands, to do without head, to listen and not to speak, to understand without joy, to love and to marvel only at Easter and Christmas. They tell the child to discover the world already there. And the 100, they steal 99. They tell the child that work and play, reality and fantasy, science and imagination, sky and earth, reason and dream are things that do not belong together. And thus they tell the child that the 100 is not there. The child says, no way, the 100 is there.
So in thinking with this metaphor of the 100 languages of children, we turn to our literature review on neuroaesthetics. Here we seek to better understand one of the 100 languages in particular, the language of drawing, from a brain research perspective. Neuroaesthetics is a field within cognitive neuroscience investigating the neural underpinnings of aesthetic experience, particularly in visual arts. Neuroscience has investigated this area using brain imaging and neurophysiological techniques. Maximin and Ross also define neuroaesthetics in their book, Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Transform Us. You want to read this one, Jamie? I can read it.
Go ahead, read it.
They describe neuroaesthetics this way. Advances in technology allow us to study human physiology like never before. And a growing community of multidisciplinary investigators is researching how the arts and aesthetics affect us, giving rise to a field that is radically changing how we understand and translate the power of the arts. It is called neuroaesthetics, or more broadly, neuroarts. The researchers expand our idea of what can be considered aesthetic or the appreciation of beauty and begin to connect it to our neurology or nervous systems. They say, aesthetic happens through the arts, yes, but as we have discussed, aesthetic experiences are also happening to you all of the time. The light in the room, the sound around you, the smells, these are aesthetics, and it is as potent as a Picasso or a Rothko. Color, texture, and temperature are more of the raw ingredients that contribute to our aesthetic input. Then there's nature, which, as we have shared, is the ultimate aesthetic experience. Nature has a strong effect on our parasympathetic system, which is part of our autonomic nervous system. It is also known as our rest and digest system. Our literature review also includes Marina Castagnetti's interpretation of the 100 languages as a metaphor. As I read her reflections, I will share images from a worm study I conducted as a creative reuse cultural education coordinator with children ages 3 to 5. This inquiry engaged the languages of clay, light, digital, Remida-inspired reuse, and drawing to support children in expressing their theories to each other and to us. In a recent 2024 webinar on the fundamentals of the Reggio Emilia approach to education, Reggio Emilia early childhood pedagogist Marina Castagnetti shared this with us. She says, children as human beings possess 100 languages, 100 ways of thinking, expressing, understanding, of encountering otherness through thought, a way of thinking that weaves together and does not separate the various dimensions of experiences. We use the world, language, and languages to indicate the main sources and founts of knowledges of children and human beings. When we talk about languages, we are referring to the many different ways children and human beings represent, communicate, and express their thoughts by means of different media and symbolic systems. Conventionally, when we think of expressive languages, she continues, we mean those in the arts, news, dance, poetry, but in fact, every language, whether traditionally seen as artistic or scientific, has the capacity of meaningful expression, something that is often underestimated and underevaluated. Every language has its own drama, which teachers and educators, Marina continues, can try to become familiar with in order to prepare to understand the challenges of language for children, the difficulties they may encounter, and to see more of the children's ways of working when they observe and document. The more familiar we are with the language and understand its possibilities, the more we become capable of expressing ourselves in it. This takes time and many opportunities for trying things out. In the Reggio Emilia approach, we do not teach technique and technical ability or modern solutions to problems, but offer many opportunities for children working together with other children to become familiar with language and become aware that other children find solutions that may be different from theirs, and to try them. The 100 languages are a metaphor for the extraordinary potentials of children. They acknowledge creative processes and myriad forms with which life is manifested and knowledge is constructed. In every school and infant toddler center, the atelier, this means studio in Italian, is a space or more than one space in a very visible and transparent space that everybody entering the school can see. The talierista is usually found in the atelier, but not always. Sometimes they work with observation and documentation in consultation with all of the teachers at the school. It is a physical space and also metaphorical space, this atelier, for the 100 languages of children and human beings, for all of the languages of expression, and repossesses our birthright, and for the idea of multiple ways that languages and materials can be combined and recombined in infinitum, expressing the rich wealth of subjectivity and group theories, and learn from the phenomena and the things of the world, which can also encounter the thoughts of the whole school. Outdoor ateliers multiply and extend the possibility of research, always connected with the indoors, in a constant back and forth and exchange between spaces, thinking material, and research. Outdoor spaces with their plants and life above ground and below ground are an ecosystem of relations and offer many opportunities for investigation, transformation, and processes between interrelational beings and living things. Tonight's event is hosted by the Fresno State Reinventing Remida project. which is housed in the Huggins Child Development Center. REMIDA is a project that emerged from the Reggio Emilia Municipal Schools of Italy in 1997. There are 17 certified REMIDA centers worldwide. The new Fresno-based REMIDA-inspired center will source discard materials from local businesses which might otherwise be thrown in the landfill. The underlying aims of a REMIDA center are to foster ethical behavior that opposes the throwaway culture and to give value to the reuse of discarded materials, differentiated waste collection, and recycling. The reason we are calling the project Reinventing Remida is because it is inspired by the Inventing Remida Portland project in Oregon at Portland State University, which I coordinated for 4 years as a graduate student. If you are interested in creative reuse and early childhood education and in serving on the newly forming advisory committee where we'll all be learning together, please email me, and I'll put my email in the chat. Okay, so let's return to Maximin and Ross's 2023 research. They describe how even 20 minutes of drawing can have powerful neurological and brain-based benefits. They say there's mounting evidence that the arts really do help us heal and thrive. Simple, quick, accessible acts of art can enhance your life. Already we see a rise in microdosing of aesthetics, and people use specific scents to relieve nausea, calibrate light sources to adjust energy levels, and use specific tones of sound to alleviate anxiety. In the same way you might exercise to lower cholesterol and increase serotonin in the brain, just 20 minutes of doodling or humming can provide immediate support for your mental state. In fact, so many studies have shown the swift physiological benefits to our health from the arts and aesthetics. They add, in the same way you might exercise, or sorry, I already read that. When we come into contact with plants and vegetation, with water and other natural elements, it immediately reduces adrenaline, blood pressure, and heart rate. A 2019 study in Frontiers of Psychology confirms that spending just 20 minutes in nature or in a place where you feel connected to the earth significantly lowers the level of stress hormone cortisol. Now that we have shared some of our literature review on the metaphor of the 100 languages and the science of neuroaesthetics, we want to briefly discuss our methodology before we move on to the artist talk. Our methodology is Remida inspired in that it is in a process and in a state of continual becoming, just like discarded materials that are being reclaimed and given new identities. We are in the beginning stages of co-research. The short drawing sensory experience exercises that Professor Nakagawa Boli facilitates with us tonight will be a pilot or test run for future methods of data collection. This is a work in progress. If children's play is their research, how might our research be playful and in process rather than focused on the product? All right, I'll pass it to you, Jamie.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I am getting ready to show some footage of my work. I am a land artist, and my work involves the land. I would like to read to you just a second of something. So my work involves the waterways and the land and the memories they hold. I am Native American Indian of the Choctaw Nation, Japanese and European. Chatasia means I am Choctaw. I am filled with questions and wonder, and I'm interested in many things. But I'm especially interested in the hidden history, the history that was always there alongside the history that was told. I'm also interested in memory. It interests me deeply. And as a land artist, I wonder what memory does. What memory does the soil hold? What knowledge do the roots and bits of pieces, do the tree branches and twigs have left? My work speaks through making marks and mixed media forms of painting, drawing, and videos and objects. And I believe that mark making is a language, painting, drawing. It's almost I've talked about it previously before. It seems to me that it is a lost language. So play is very important in my work. And as you'll see, and the environment is very important. And the work I'm going to show you right now is a video of a place that most of you probably pass back and forth. As you know, I'm from Visalia, so I cross two rivers. And it is the St. Johns River, which you might not even realize that you're seeing it as you're driving, say, from Visalia to Fresno, Fresno to Visalia. But what you'll notice is there are these trees that are just along, it's just a beautiful space. It's not consumed by agriculture. It's not consumed by buildings or industrial area. It's just a space that is left empty. But during the drought, and then there was the flooding. Do you remember the flooding that happened? The 150 levees that broke? We saw that river got full and it was filled up all the way up. And also the Kings River. You also all cross two rivers just like me. So in my work, driving back and forth as an undergraduate and then a graduate of Fresno State, I started noticing these different spaces, these ordinary spaces, these spaces that you don't normally notice. And there was something about them. And I had a lot of anxiety coming back and forth to school, but I would look at the land, and about the time I would get to the St. Johns River, there would just be this kind of peace. It would carry me through. I could go on and I could finish my journey. So I want to show you a video. Michelle, you're going to have to play the video, okay? Because I don't have, it's the next one down. This is titled Standing in the Gap. Can you hear the sound? We can't hear the sound. Let me see. I'll pause it for a second. That's interesting.
You want me to try again?
Yeah, let me see. Let's see. Not sure why the sound's not playing. That's interesting.
Try to reshare your screen again, but this time put audio in.
Yeah, my audio is already, oh, here we go, sorry.
Dr. Dominguez, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear the video?
Yeah, like water sounds, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So just
Yeah, we can hear that.
Yeah. Most of the time where this area is dry. That would be nice. See this.
Wakataka Nishnala o Nihit na Nishnala Niwaka. Chalea ke Unshich Kamaglea Uhinajimi. cha unshi una pia. Taku yuha yakare ki he. Yu oni ha. Umani bi. Cha ongya pia. Taku yuha yakare ki he. Yu oni ha. Mani unchepi. Cha ongya pe. Hecha unglustankle. Eho. Almighty God, you alone are mighty, and you alone are holy. We humbly come in your presence. We ask for your pity and your mercy. We want to honor and respect all that you have created, so help us to finish our journey in honor. Almighty God, you alone are mighty, and you alone are holy. We humbly come in your presence. We ask for your pity and your mercy. Wakantaka nishnala o nihitike na nishnala niwaka. Chalea ke unshich kamaglea unhina shipi. Cha unshi unapia. Taku yuha yakare ki he. Yu oniha umanipi. Cha ongyapia. Taku yuha yakare ki he. Yu oniha mani unche. Cha ongyape. Hecha unglustankle. Eho. We want to honor and respect all that you have created, so help us to finish our journey in honor.
Okay, so that was Corky Mills. She is Lakota. Her name is Lone Woman. And the audio was done by Jasmine Sereno, is an audio artist. So I have to just give them honor because that was it was a combination of a couple people that did this. So now we're going to talk about this idea. We're going to have some data on many drawing lessons through our marks, but conscious and subconscious drawings that are a way to communicate. Are you ready, Michelle?
To change the slide or?
Yeah, so can you show them the work? I don't know, I don't know what, let me just a second. Can you show them, go back one. So this is, there we go. This is a painting that's in our president's, it's in one of his, where he has his conference room. And that is that area right there. That's that little space when you go to the edge and you look at the waterway, that is, that's a painting of it. And this is at Fresno State. This is in there. And it's 16 feet long and 8 feet tall. No, this is pretty big. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Okay. So drawing as a language of visual communications. Drawing is a medium of visual communication. Using any tool you want to leave, you can leave a trace upon a surface capable of referring to objects and events in the past, present, and future, real or imaginary. And here I have some of my students right here from Fresno State last fall. And we were drawing to this idea of how do you draw the wind and how do you draw the sound of music. All right. So what we're going to do now, if that's okay with you, Michelle, is we're going to do a couple different mini exercises, and everyone should have some kind of material. Hopefully your students do also. So if you have a piece of paper, a pencil, different things to make marks. My students have, all of you guys have things in front of you. You have, there's pastels, dry pastels, oil pastels, pencils, charcoals, all kinds of materials, any material usually that you can find to make marks, because we're going to make marks with this idea that mark making is a language. And we're thinking about this, the language of drawing in place as neuroaesthetics. You could see in my piece I showed you, there was a lot of play involved in it. There's a lot of childlike wonder. And one of the things that has come across with all these studies is that we need the arts. It will help you, it will bring down your anxiety, it will cause your heart rate to calm down. But you know what, one thing that we didn't do, Michelle, is we're gonna do a breathing exercise before we start, correct?
Yeah, and I hate to focus on mechanical time, but it is 6:44, so I think we need to
Just go on.
go
Okay.
in. Yeah.
All right, so then that's fine. So what I want to do right now, we'll start out with just some warm-ups, okay? Just like exercise, but warm-ups. And one of the things that I'd like you to do is I want to talk to you about, and my students might know this because I can't remember, but marks, making marks is a language, right? And can you see this little board right here in front of me? Can you guys see it? So what I want you to do is I'd like you to start making some different marks, okay? And why don't you guys, you have graphite or you have charcoal, you can use whatever you'd like. There's erasers here too, anything you need. Oh, there's no erasers. So what I want you to do first of all is I want you to think about a couple things, okay? So if marks is a language, but even the position and place of the marks can have some kind of meaning, right? You can have marks that breathe, marks that move. There's all kinds of different marks. So for just a warm up, I want you to just make some different marks on the paper. Don't be afraid. Do anything you want, okay? So if marks are breathing, you can press. This is kind of a challenge because I can't show you my screen, I don't think. Michelle, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. So everyone, just go ahead and make different marks. So I want you to press as if it's breathing and then pull out, okay? We've done this before, but if you imagine the marks you make, we're surrounded by marks, right? Yeah, do you want to do it? Yeah. Okay. So I just want you to kind of make some different marks with your pencil. But if you can see this mark that goes across is a horizontal mark. And it feels there's a resting about that mark. And why is that? It's because we identify it with laying down, right? While the horizontal marks we lay down. Well, then we have other marks that are upright. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we can see it.
So you have more energy. The energy changes depending on the marks, right? So whatever marks you make, the energy is going to change. But what if you wanted to make an angry mark? What kind of mark would you make? And you guys, you have charcoal. So if you want, use some charcoal because you can just kind of move your hand around. You can change it. Try the different materials. So different marks are going to have different meanings. They say that when you listen to a lecture, that if you take notes and you just doodle, you know, while you're listening to that lecture, that you'll end up remembering more. I just want you to be kind of familiar that it's just play. There's no right, no wrong, but it is a language. So make some different marks, just as if you're warming up, you're getting used to just. No right, no wrong. Okay. I'm gonna keep track of the time. So basically, one of the things is just to realize that there's lots of different ways that you can make marks. And it's almost like as you're making those marks, you just kind of let go and you just make the marks and think of it as almost warming up. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna open up my. Right. So I have an example of different marks, but I just want to share with you a little bit about this idea of sensory drawing, okay? All right, everyone, can you pass that out so everyone can get an object? So we're going to do this mini drawing lesson of sensory drawing, where you're going to be able to, from memory, you're going to describe what you see. So I'd like you guys, if you have an object, so here they're going to use something from nature, but if you have an object, I just want you to grab an object, any object you want that's around you. It can be on your desk or sitting beside you. And the first thing I want you to do, this is called sensory drawing. I'm going to give these guys a second. Okay, is I want you to find an object, okay? All right. And I want you to think about that object. What do you see? If you could taste it, how do you think it would taste? If you were to touch it, what does it feel like? Does it have a noise? Does it have a smell? And the first thing I want you to do is with 10 words, I want you to describe it, not in a sentence, just the first words that come to your mind, 10 words, okay? We'll start with that. We've done this exercise before, so you guys should be like experts, right? Okay. 10 words, describe it. Almost like, yes, your object. It should be almost, it's memory, but it's almost automatic. There's no wrong. Not really. Just don't taste it. Don't taste it, please. I beg you. Okay. All right. Let me know when you're ready to go to the next thing, because I think we only have so much time. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want you to do, now this is very strange, okay? Are you ready?
Ready.
I want you to take that object and you're not going to look at it. You're just going to touch it with the hand that you don't write with, okay? And I want you to draw what it feels like. So as your finger, and I'll show you an example because I need to help you guys, but it's the only one. I messed up with my thing. I need another piece of paper. This is called drawing by feeling or drawing by touch, okay? And what I want you to do is, let's see. So just by touching it, as my finger moves along the object, my hand's gonna move at the same time. But I'm not going to look at the object, okay? I don't know, you might cheat. It might be cheating because you're memory, right? But just try to as your hand moves along the object, let your writing hand move at the same time, okay? Here we go. So think about things. What does it feel like? Is it hard? What does the texture feel like? Every time it bumps up, then you want your hand to move at the same time. There we go. Do we have an extra object I can use too? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that was too easy. Okay. All right. So drawing is the response to the outer and inner stimuli. It often is a pictorial representation of something that exists in the world, such as an object or place. Sometimes a drawing depicts something that does not exist. And the act of drawing is an intrinsic way of making thoughts and feelings visible. Drawing consists of continual decisions making. And the student, I have an example on the screen. I guess you guys can't see it, but it's my student from last semester. And he said, I think I did it all right on the sketches. The sticks were the easier parts, but the rocks were the hardest because of the texture and trying to get the depth of the rocks to look realistic. Now, Chris he's an architectural major, so that was probably why he was so intent on getting it perfect. But anyway, so the next one that we want to do in our sensory mini drawing is I'd like you all to do, so we did by touch, Okay. Let's do blind contour. That's our favorite, right? So blind contour is like this. So what you'll do for blind contour is while you're drawing, you don't get to look at the piece of paper. And I'll show you an example. So what you do is you hold your object in your hand, okay? And while you're drawing, you keep your eye on the object. And as your eye moves very slowly along the object, your hand moves on the piece of paper. And you don't want to get ahead of yourself. This is called blind contour. You want to put your pencil on the paper, and as your eye moves very slowly along this object, your hand moves. And the point of it is to teach you to really see what you're drawing, to see what you're looking at. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It's not the point. The point is that you're exploring something. And you're looking at every part. Okay. And it looks crazy. I would say 9 times out of 10. But sometimes it turns out pretty amazing. Because your hand and your eye, you're actually exploring something that's 3-dimensional. It's hard to talk while you do this too. It's hard for me. Oh, I went off.
So I'm gonna take this moment to highlight that this is in process. It's not the product, it's the process. We're not trying to tie a bow on it. And so this is kind of a perfect place, I think, to leave off. We don't have implications because we haven't collected data. Like I said, this is what you just experienced. The neuro arts is the data we hope to collect moving forward. So we hope you've enjoyed this, that you've had an experience, and please look out for our next in the series. And thank you so much for joining us. I wish we had time for sharing, but next time we'll do an hour and a half. So there'll be more time for drawing and sharing. We'll say goodnight, and I'll put my email in the chat in case anybody wants to get a hold of me for joining the Remida Pedagogical Advisory Committee.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Good night.
Night. All right, we're not done. I just want you to know that.
Bye, Dr. Dominguez. Have a great one. It's been a pleasure.
Destiny, thank you. Thank you.